Today's lesson is 2.1 and 2.2 thermal energy. In chapter 1, we had a pretty short chapter 1. The main thing that we looked at in chapter 1 was movement of molecules and how that kind of relates to temperature. In this chapter, chapter 2, we're going to start looking a little bit about what temperature is and how that relates to kinetic energy. So your learning target for today, I can relate kinetic energy to temperature. Okay. Part 1, you guys should add to your notebook. So you have 2 vocab words to add. Temperature is the first. Temperature is the average kinetic energy or speed of molecules in matter. That is why we looked at how to calculate an average in the last lessons. And transfer means to move from one object to another or one place to another. So we're going to talk a lot about the transfer of energy and how that causes objects to change their temperature or change their energy. Okay, and then key concept number 4, temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the molecules in a thing. Again, we're looking at averages there, so taking all the kinetic energy in an object, averaging it, and that tells us our temperature. Okay, moving on to your bell ringer. You guys have a couple statements that should look familiar to you guys because we did them, I believe, in 1.3. So we're going to look at 2 of them. And at this point, you guys have had a little bit more information, especially what we just talked about in our vocab. So the first one, temperature is a measure of how hot or cold something is. You guys are either going to circle agree or disagree. And then how could you revise this statement to be more correct or complete? So obviously this statement isn't correct or isn't complete. So you guys need to kind of fix that. Again, think back to what we just added to our notes today if you guys need. Okay, and then on slide 4, when something heats up, it moves faster, and when something cools down, it moves slower. So how can you guys either complete or correct this statement as you guys see it? So agree or disagree, and then how would you guys complete it or correct it? Okay, if you guys need a minute, take a second, pause this video, go back to your part 1 notes and your part 2 warm-up. Okay, and then when you're ready, we'll move on to the next section. All right, part 3, you guys have a small 2-part simulation that you're going to do. So you're going to go ahead, open up your sim link. You're going to add 1 sample and turn on the view kinetic energy toggle. It doesn't matter what size sample you guys add. I'm just going to add a medium sample right now because it's the quickest to click. And then up here, we've got the view kinetic energy. There's your toggle right there. This little key should look remotely familiar to you guys, but the last time we looked at, we were talking about molecule speeds. So low is going to be, for kinetic energy, low kinetic energy is going to be this kind of grayish black color, and then high kinetic energy would be this yellow color, okay? So what you're going to do then is explore different ways to change the kinetic energy of your sample. So try to change that back and forth between the blackish color and the yellow color. Figure out how you guys do that. And then based on your explanation in the sim, what do you notice, or excuse me, exploration in the sim, what did you notice about kinetic energy? So answer right there. What are some things you guys observed about kinetic energy? Okay, when you're done with that, you'll move on to part 2 of your sim. You're going to go ahead and reset. And in this one, you guys are going to choose 2 samples. Again, it doesn't matter which size. It doesn't matter if those 2 samples are the same size. It doesn't matter for this one. Do not turn on the view kinetic energy toggle, so don't click that little toggle yet. And then what you're going to do is make 1 sample have faster moving molecules than the other sample. So speed up 1 sample, slow down the other sample. And then you're going to make a prediction first, because again, you guys do not have your toggle clicked. So make a prediction. I predict that the warmer sample with the faster moving molecules will have, and then circle either more or less or the same amount of kinetic energy than the cooler sample with slower molecules. So make your circle and your prediction there. And then go ahead and click on your toggle and let me know if you guys were correct or not. So which sample had the higher kinetic energy. Okay. Again, you're hotter or you're colder. All right. And you guys can take a second, pause this, finish your sim, and then we'll move on. Okay, part 4 is a little vocab practice. You guys have 3 vocab words that you've been given: kinetic energy, molecule, and average. So use the vocab words kinetic energy, molecule, and average to write a sentence or sentences to explain what happens when an object warms up. Okay, so what happens when an object warms up? Again, you need to use those 3 words to help you describe. Okay, again, take a second, pause this, complete part 4, and then we'll move on to part 5. All right, in part 5, you guys are going to do some kind of reflection and labeling. So you guys have 2 samples. Sample A, notice that yellow color that we just saw in the key that showed us kinetic energy. And then sample B, we've got this gray color. Think about, again, how much kinetic energy that is. And then over here, you guys have 2 labels. So you can click and drag those labels. And then you guys will label sample A and B as either hotter or colder. Okay, so you'll click and drag your 2 little tags to label sample A and B. Okay, same for this one, except instead of seeing the colors, you guys will see the little speeds of the molecules with the little lines behind them. So label hotter and colder right here in these boxes. Okay, and then finally on slide 10, we've got this one here. This one we have sample E and sample F. But before you can label them hotter and colder, you need to do two things. Okay, so in sample E and F, each circle represents a molecule. So here's one molecule right here. Each number inside of the molecule represents that molecule's kinetic energy. So 3 has a kinetic energy of 3 kilojoules. Okay, this molecule has a kinetic energy of 4. This one has a kinetic energy of 5, so on and so forth. Okay, what is the average kinetic energy of sample E? So just like you guys did in the M&M lab and the averages worksheet, you guys will need to add up all of these numbers for sample E. Okay, there's 9 of them. Add them all up. And then because we're looking at 9 different molecules, you guys would divide by the number 9. Okay, tell me the average kinetic energy for sample E. And then right here, you guys are going to do the same thing for sample F. You guys will add all of these up. And then you guys will divide by 9, because again, we're looking at 9 molecules. These two samples are the same size. And give me your average here. Once you guys have both of those averages, you guys will look at which one has the higher average, and that should tell you guys which object or sample is hotter and which one's colder. So once you guys have your averages, grab your labels and label as hotter or colder. Okay, take a second, finish those 3 slides, and when you're done, you can come on back and we'll do the last section, which is a reading activity. All right, so for this last section of your assignment, you guys are going to read this article, How Air Conditioners Make Cities Hotter. Okay, so this is what your guys' article looks like. So read through that, and as you read, think of these questions that you will need to answer. How does an air conditioner cool air down? So talk about how we actually take hot air, cool it in an air conditioner, and spit it back out as cold air. Okay. When an air conditioner cools the air in a house down, where does the energy from that cool air go? Okay, so we had hot air in the house. Our air conditioner pulls it out, it removes the energy from it, and then shoots the cool air back into the house with the less energy. But where did the energy that it removed go? Okay, so think about answering that question. And then finally, you guys, this should look similar to what you saw in your warm-up. Molecules speed up when energy is created and slow down when energy is destroyed. So circle either agree or disagree. Again, this statement is either incorrect or incomplete. So you guys are going to correct using what you read about or learned in the article. So make sure you guys correct it or complete it using information from your How Air Conditioners Make Cities Hotter. Okay, so use that as your example there. And then your exit ticket for today. When you're done, do you have any questions? Yes or no? And if you have questions, type them there. If not, leave that blank. And then 4, 3, 2, 1. How do you think you did? You can teach it. You own it. I'm still unsure about a few things, or I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Go ahead, let it save. Make sure it saves before you exit out of it, and hand it in. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'll talk to you later.